Welcome to Barricade Rides, videos for motorcycle enthusiasts. Got a great video for you today. I'm with David at Emerald City Harley, my adult Disneyland, and we're going to be doing a video on the 2021 Harley Davidson Pan America Special and the Standard. Also, check out my Instagram. We're closing in on 2,000 subscribers, and we got flasks with the Barricade Rides logo, so I got 3 of them to give out as prizes. But let's get into it.
Hey everybody, David with Emerald City Harley Davidson. I want to thank Barricade for the opportunity to do another video with them. This really helps me learn the bikes because I want to be accurate in what I'm saying. So it's an awesome opportunity. He's a great supporter. We are excited to talk to you about the Pan America. Now, if you look back at some of the publications about a year ago, when really a lot of information started coming out about this bike, there was a lot of skepticism about Harley Davidson entering this market. And that's fair. It's really something we haven't produced before. We've produced some bikes for quasi off-road use in the past, but we've never really had a really serious adventure touring bike. Now, Harley Davidson's core customer for decades has been the baby boomers, right? The guys that grew up riding Harleys in World War II, or being part of bike clubs or whatever. So, and the unfortunate thing is those folks are not going to continue to ride forever, right? So Harley, like any other company, has to figure out how to reach younger generations of riders. So the Livewire that came out last year, the Pan America this year, there's another announcement coming out on July 13th about another new bike that Harley's coming out with. So Harley is doing what they need to do to continue to move forward as a company and continue to create great motorcycles. So in the last year, now that this bike is out and industry professionals are riding them and adventure touring enthusiasts are riding them, now people are saying, wow, these Pan Americas are legit, and it's pretty fun. Harley was born in the dirt. If you haven't had a chance to see Harley and the Davidsons on History Channel, watch it. It is fascinating. It's great acting. It's got all kinds of nostalgia, some great old bikes. Kind of shows you the difficulties that the Davidson brothers and Bill Harley went through to try to get this company off the ground. So we're constantly reinventing. Our new CEO has really pushed us to continue to try to invent new ideas, new concepts, new types of bikes to reach new customers. So all of that said, that's where we are with the Pan America. So, in the Pan America, there's 2 flavors. There is the Standard, which is this one here, and there is the Special, which is the one on my left. So first of all, both of these bikes come with a brand new power plant. Heart and soul of any Harley Davidson, these are no different, is the engine. It is a 1250cc liquid-cooled, what they call the Revolution Max engine. These engines produce about 94 foot-pounds of torque and 150 horsepower. It's massive power. The thing that's great about this engine, because it's liquid cooled, it's going to give you tremendous operating consistency in terms of temperature. It's going to help with the wear on the engine. It's going to allow you to ride these bikes, stop and start, and all of that stuff without overheating or getting all that heat off the engine. So brilliantly designed engine. It is, as I mentioned, it's a new power plant. Now they borrowed some of the things they learned from like the V-Rod and stuff like that, and they put some of that into this engine, but it is really a brand new engine, brand new powertrain. It uses an oil bath primary. This bike also, both bikes have a chain final drive, which is very different for Harley. I think the last chain drive they made was back in the 80s, maybe the 90s. But a belt on an adventure touring bike could be problematic for obvious reasons. You're riding through gravel, through mud, you're picking up rocks, you get one of those lodged in your belt. It could create a little puncture, which could ultimately lead to the belt deteriorating. Even though they're really heavy duty, Kevlar reinforced, designed to last the life of the bike. When you're going off-road, the whole game kind of changes a little bit. So they went to a chain. That's what all the adventure touring bikes are using. They're rugged, and what's really nice about it, you have the right tool. If you damage your chain or damage a sprocket, you can service it in the field. by simply pulling the chain apart, because chains do that, pulling the chain out, putting a new chain on. Relatively easy to replace. Replacing a belt, however, would be much more difficult. So they're trying to keep in mind that sometimes adventure riders are going to be 100 miles from civilization, up in the middle of the hills. You don't want to get stuck, so you want to have a bike that you can do some repairs on it and get home safely. The other thing these bikes have, tremendous amount of adjustability on both bikes. More on the Special, as you might expect, but both bikes have an adjustable windshield. And it's on the left-hand side, it's opposite your throttle hand, so you can adjust this windshield on the fly. Super easy. It does lock into position. You use this little lever to raise and lower it. That's a nice feature. The other thing is the electronics, the screen, really great display. It's all encased in a weatherproof, waterproof, dirtproof, dustproof casing. So this is well protected from the elements. You've also got adjustable levers on your hand levers for both the clutch and the brake. And that's just simple as turning this dial, right? You can see how it kind of moves the lever in and out. So very cool technology. Designed again to customize this bike on the fly. The other thing these bikes have is I already mentioned the liquid cooled engine. They are a 6-speed transmission. So you've got a great bike for off the road. You've got a lot of torque, a lot of power. These things redline at like 9,000. And the power band on these is starting at about where traditional Harleys almost leave off, about 3,500 to 4,000 RPM, all the way up to 9,000 RPM. The power on these bikes is amazing, just phenomenal. Both bikes have an adjustable seat height. This seat, literally, you use your key, you take off this back seat, and this front seat, there's 2 notches up front that allow you to raise this seat about 1 inch. You can see here right now it's lowered. When it's raised, this seat is flush with the rear pillion seat. So that's very cool, very adjustable. The bikes both come with cruise control. They both come with your electronics built in. Now this bike has also a USB-C port right up here, just to the right of your display, so easy to get to. And when you're not using it, it's got a waterproof cap that goes over it to keep it clean, dust-free. Both of these bikes have some suspension adjustability. The standard has a rear dial. If you look down here, Kyle, you see this dial right here. It's a little bit similar to what you see on some of the touring bikes and a couple of the Softail models where you can adjust the rear suspension. So on this one, you just use this rear dial. That allows you to adjust the preload for the rear end of the bike, and that allows you to adjust for passengers, for gear. There's all kinds of stuff available for these bikes. Performance upgrades, mufflers, luggage, riding gear, helmets, boots, gloves. I mean, Harley's all in on this bike. The other thing that both bikes have is they do have RDRS, so they've got traction control. They have ride modes that allow you to adjust the sensitivity of the suspension, the braking, the ABS, all of that. So, very cool bikes. When you start these up, I'm going to start this one up, you know immediately it's not a traditional Harley. It has a very different sound, but it does have still a really aggressive, kind of a throaty sound to it. And it does have a rev limiter when it's in neutral. That's as high as you can go. When you're in gear, no such thing. I've heard this bike with the Screaming Eagle Street Cannon, and it just gives it a little more presence, a little more pop, like you might expect from a Harley. It doesn't sound like a Harley, but in terms of an adventure touring bike, it's got a really unique sound and a really aggressive sound. This is really cool. Okay, so I've gone over kind of some of the things that are available on the bikes. They do have inverted front forks on both bikes. You do have 19-inch wheels on the front. I believe it's an 18 on the rear. I should check that. It's a 17. So 17 on the rear, 19 on the front. Now the standards come standard with cast aluminum wheels. That's not what you typically see on adventure touring bikes. They are lighter weight. They're very strong. Of course, you can run tubeless on them. An option on these bikes is the factory laced wheels, and you'll notice these spokes go from the outside, one side of the hub, to the other side of the rim. They kind of go across the wheel. Gives it more durability, more stability, better handling. They also terminate outside the bead, so even though you're running spoked wheels, and this is not unique to Harley, several other adventure touring bikes use this, but you've got a spoke that terminates outside the bead. So two things: you can run tubeless. The second thing is, if you break a spoke, you get the right tool, you pop that spoke out, put a new one in, you're off and running. So that is something that you can order for either bike. A lot of people are talking about ordering maybe a second set of wheels and putting some knobby tires on it so they can swap out the wheels if they're really going to go do some aggressive off-road riding. Sure, the knobby tires are great. These are a wonderful tire for on-road and off-road, kind of a hybrid. So anyway, both bikes have Brembo brakes, phenomenal braking. Now the standard has more traditional rotors. The special has floating rotors. So again, the floating rotors are designed to kind of flex a little bit as they heat up and cool down and all that stuff. It's really designed to assure optimal contact with your brake pads and give you that braking power that you need. You really need it on this bike because the power is just incredible. Okay, so on the special, some things that come on this bike that don't come on the standard. Things like your engine guards, like heated grips, like an adjustable rear brake pedal. You've also got on this bike, there's a semi-active suspension. So you'll notice down here, Barricade, there is no dial under here for the suspension because it's all electronic. You load this bike up with gear or a passenger, the suspension is smart enough to know that and compensates the preload automatically. It's pretty cool stuff. The other thing that the special has that the standard does not, it's got this adaptive headlight up front, and your main headlight is down here. Your high beam is in the center, your low beams are on the sides. This headlight is specifically for cornering. So as you're leaning this bike, it'll tend to shine more light in the direction you're leaning. Very cool. That's something that comes only on the special. The other thing that is only available on the special, now it's not standard on the special, it has to be included, is the thing that a lot of people have been talking about. It is revolutionary in the industry, nobody else has it. It's called adaptive ride height. So for the people that are, even myself, when I get on this bike, it's tall, it sits pretty high. Adventure touring bikes tend to do that. So for anybody much shorter than I am, and I'm 5'11", it's a little bit of a challenge, especially when you're used to riding around on like a Slim or something. It's a real low seat height, you're kind of sitting down inside it. This, you're kind of sitting up on top of the bike. So the adaptive ride height, what that does, when the bike comes to a stop at an idle, it squats 2 inches. And this isn't news to a lot of you. But that functionality means that many more people can ride this bike and feel comfortable when they come to a stop. People that may not even be able to touch the ground when the bike is moving, it doesn't really matter once it's moving. But when it comes to a stop, you want to be able to get your feet on the ground, or at least most of your toes, right? So that opens the door for a lot more people to be able to ride these bikes. That is something that's available. You can see right here, you can tell the bikes that have adaptive ride height because it has these, this coming out of the top of the forks. So adaptive ride height, you've got the heated hand grips, you've got the adjustable foot lever, you've got the headlight, adaptive headlight, you've got the semi-active suspension, you've got all the ride modes. The other thing that these have, if you ever have been out riding and you come around a corner and there's that tree branch sticking up that's pretty stout and you whack your hand, man does that hurt. So the special comes with these hand guards, which not only help protect your hands from obstacles and things that might hit them, but also gives you a little bit of shelter from rain or from just cold temperatures. So it allows you to ride more year round. Both of these bikes, I've gotten the chance now to ride them a couple of times, and they are just so much fun. They are so comfortable. They're great standing. They're great sitting down. And people that are riding these and are really giving them a chance are really impressed with what Harley's done. When Harley enters a market, they don't mess around. Right? Harley has a lot of experience behind them. They did their homework on these bikes. You may not like the way you look and like the way they look, and that's your right. You may not like the fact that Harley's making an off-road bike, and that is your right. That's fine. But for the people that have wanted to get into adventure touring and there hasn't been a brand they've identified with, Harley Davidson riders are very loyal to the brand. So now the guys that ride around on Road Kings and street glides and road glides, now they have an adventure bike that they can ride that is their brand, right? Their company, their dealership, their service department. So it's pretty exciting. It's also opening the door to a lot of new riders as well. Adventure touring very popular with some of the younger generations. So I'm really proud of what Harley has come out with in this space. We can't keep them on the floor. We do have one here at Emerald City right now that is available for test rides. It is the standard. It's this bike right here. If you are interested in these bikes, come by and ride one. You really have to experience it. It may or may not be for you, but there's no question it's a phenomenal bike. So, love to show it to you.
There you have it, the Harley Davidson Pan America Standard and Special. Thank you to David and Emerald City Harley Davidson in Linwood, Washington for allowing me to test ride the Standard and check out the Special. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, brothers and sisters,
Stay safe
and ride your ride.